You're listening to Entrepreneur Encounter, the podcast where soft skills meet real talk for creative business owners who are building with purpose. I'm Dana, a Pinterest marketing strategist and agency owner helping wedding pros and creative entrepreneurs get seen without burning out.
And I'm Sarah, a business and team strategist who helps small teams and podcasters communicate clearly, lead with empathy, and grow sustainably. Together, we're unpacking the messy, meaningful side of entrepreneurship, from boundaries to burnout, leadership to listening, so you can build a business that actually fits your life. Have you ever looked at your business and thought, I've explained what I do 100 times. Why do people seem so confused still? You updated your website, you rewritten your offer, you posted it more than once, and then still the response feels off.
It's almost like you're getting questions you thought you already answered, and people are still hesitating from either reaching out to you or booking you. And they say things during a discovery call or networking call like, I think I get it, but I'm not sure. That's the moment that we're going to be talking about today throughout this episode.
You can now follow us on LinkedIn at Entrepreneur Encounter. Here's how we can reframe this. There's a shift that's going to matter. Just because you understand your business doesn't mean it's clear to anyone else. Clarity isn't how well you can explain something, it's how easily someone else can repeat it back to you. And I've been there before, especially when starting out. I'm like, I know what I'm doing, but how do I explain this? And I think that's why I actually enjoy having conversations with people, because to me, that helps get the point across. But again, every business is different. Everybody is different on how they communicate their offering. But as you learn, as you grow, and you can figure out a way to make it make sense.
And I think this is something that gets talked about all the time online, especially lately. I feel like it ebbs and flows, but I've seen it more lately about just get clear on your messaging, conversion copy, or any other keywords that go along with your explanation and communication. But what people don't talk about enough is how assumptions can sabotage clarity, because even with the things that we do, like when you're creating an SOP, I've been reading through the Buy Back Your Time book by Dan Martell, and he was talking about how he builds SOPs. He records himself 3 different times doing the same task, because the first time, and he talks out loud each time he does it, because each time you're probably going to remember something or think of something that maybe you internally assumed that they're going to know to check. And that's not always the case. So by the 3rd time, you've probably covered all of those granular assumptions on how to clearly define and accomplish a task, no matter what it is and no matter what department it's in.
That's actually a good point. I mean, like when I create SOPs or if I'm writing something, I have to read it out loud, because you can read in your head so many things. But even when I'm reading a book, just for me, just because I read out loud and it sounds better, it reads better, it helps you connect all of the words together. I know this kind of sounds ridiculous, but yes, I'm in a house full of people and I read it out loud. It helps me see things more clearly as well. So as business owners, we communicate from the inside of the business. We know the backstory. We know why the offer exists. We know how the process works, but we can never just assume that everybody is going to understand what that is.
Which I feel like is so easy to do. And coming from weddings and events, I've had friends help me when I last minute needed an extra assistant or something, or a photographer friend was coming and helping me get behind the scenes footage for me to use before it was even trending about content creation. I was just like, hey, can you come get some action shots while also assisting me here and there? And so to me, all the moving parts of a wedding, everyday life, that's normal. There's nothing crazy about that. It is what it is, but that stuff lives in my head because I eat, sleep, and breathe these things. And then
Mhm.
she was like, I could not do what you do. And so to me, I was just like, that's not that hard. Like it's not hard. What do you mean you can't do what I do? You just do it. But just like that experience, my audience doesn't live inside my head. And if they're meeting me for the first time and my messaging is bouncing all over the place, or it's not skimmable to just get the big key pieces and they're trying to decide quickly, can I help them or not? Then we're leaving them to fill in the blanks of the problems that they have instead of taking a moment to get the things out of my head and really share the context of what it is that I do, how I support them in a variety of different ways. And it just answers a problem that most people don't even fully understand is there.
Exactly, and you know what? I'm glad that we're talking about this because I'm actually in the process of creating I wouldn't say like, it could be like an SOP, like a standard operating procedure, but to help people understand what I do and, operations and team management and what a day-to-day looks like in the podcast world and the operations world, because, yes, I can post something about, this is how you delegate to your team, but I wanna create something to where, like, it is a step-by-step guide so that you can pretend that now you're living inside my head, like, this is what it looks like. So I started outlining that the other day because I want to be able to give people some more understanding of, like, this is what the behind the scenes truly looks like, because when I have conversations with people, they're like, "Yeah, I never thought about that. Oh, that's interesting," or whatever. So I'm like, "Well, that got me thinking." Instead of creating, like, multiple posts to post on LinkedIn, why not create, like, this one standoff blog, send it off to everybody so that they can see the behind the scenes and say, "Oh, now I understand what it means to delegate and manage the back end of a business because it's not easy."
And I think that those light bulb moments help you get even better at communicating and sharing your message with everyone in your network.
Well,
Because
that
I can show up when you take that information that, in a conversation that someone thankfully opened up and said, oh, I never thought of it that way. If you take that and put it in your copy in any way, shape, or form, then this shows up in higher conversions, shorter decision cycles. So they don't have to dive too much into your content. Maybe instead of the 12 touch points, maybe they only need 7 touch points. You have more aligned clients. And then eventually, because you are honing in on this feedback and like taking a moment to not assume someone just knows something and really breaking it down in a confident way, eventually you're going to get to the point where you don't feel like you're constantly clarifying because your work is valuable and now it's aligned with everything else.
Yes, and, I remember, like, a while ago, we used to talk about, all the touch points, the amount of touch points that you have to have with somebody that's, like I'm just gonna use social media as an example because, obviously, like, the algorithm may or may not show your stuff, and sometimes it can get frustrating, but knowing the fact that you can create something from a question or something that somebody mentioned from, like, a conversation, now you can just take that and just share it, just like, "Hey, here," and it's off, and I maybe that is the next step. Maybe that's, like, creating a bigger piece of something that explains everything in detail so that you don't have to feel like you're constantly answering the same questions. Yes, you can create a post, communicate that, send all the DMs, but now if someone asks a question, you can just say, check this out. Like, here's a blog post or whatever. So, like, maybe that sounds a little bit better in the long run. So, the first step for actually creating clarity is removing insider language. Like, get rid of the fluff, get rid of the jargon that nobody really cares for. We're not in corporate anymore. Talk like a real human. If somebody needs a dictionary, a glossary to understand what you offer, then it's not clear. You want to make sure that it's simple to read. Have you ever heard the term KISS? It's like keep it simple, simple, stupid. Is that how it's yeah, so it's like, and it's so funny because a lot of the times when you're writing, a lot of people not a lot of people, I guess they read on a 5th grade level. People always say, "Explain it to me like I'm a 5th grader." So try to remove all the words that we don't necessarily wants to read. Like, make it simple, you can still make it fun and get your message out there.
I think there's a time and place for using that impressive wording, and in your sales copy is just not the place. So that leads us to the second step, which is context. Instead of just saying what you do, explain who it's for because you don't want to work with everyone. I mean, maybe you do, but most of us don't.
Oh, no.
Like, I work with wedding professionals. That's who I love working with. So all of my copy is surrounded by context explaining who I work with, and that's wedding professionals. Do I work with other people? Absolutely. But if you land on my website, you're going to know without a shadow of a doubt that that's who I work with is wedding professionals. And then another thing to explain is when they need it. Do they need it at the beginning of their business? Is it in the middle when they're about to scale? Is it they're ready for their first hire? They're going from 10K months to 100K months, founders, whatever. And then what problem is getting solved right now? Context from these three areas grounds your message in reality and helps take a lot of the guesswork out of it.
Yeah. It took me a long time to figure out, like, I know what I do, I know what I offer, and trying to figure out the best way to communicate that. And one thing I did realize over the last actually maybe 5, 6 months, because if you guys don't know, I did ended up getting a part-time job. And the way that I used to get clients was conversation and networking. And that's how I'm able to communicate my message. And that's what I do. And that's what I actually enjoy doing when people have asked, like, what do you do? Or, can you talk a little bit more about that? Like, hey, let's just get on a call. Like, let's get on and have a conversation. And for me, at least, it's easier to explain. I help businesses build, grow, and manage teams. You're like, what does that mean? So, like, I'm not going to go on this whole tangent making just a whole like post about it. But when I tell people in conversation, they understand and they get it and they ask questions. And then I take those questions and that's where I create other things along the way. So, yes. So, meeting them where they are and asking questions, getting feedback, that can help as well.
I think their questions are also going to be very similar questions to what other people ask and are looking for. Something I've been talking about lately with others is because of the content that are the services that I provide, people often think this is an example where I'm not getting enough leads. And so their immediate thought is, I'm not posting enough. So they want to post more. They think that's the solution to their problem. When in reality, it could be they're not consistent across the 1 to 2 platforms that they are utilizing. And so it's causing confusion. Or it could be they're posting too much of the wrong type of content. It could be a plethora of things, but we always start with what we see the most, which is, oh, I'm just not posting enough. I'm not opening my mouth enough. And sometimes that is the case. I'm not going to say that's never the case. And this is what I eat, sleep, and breathe. When your messaging shifts depending on the platform, people are going to lose trust because, again, there are 7 to 12 touch points that you need prior to someone working with you. And they are also ingesting about 7 to 10 hours of your content across a variety of platforms. So it's not just Instagram, it's not just Facebook, it's not just email, it's not just your website. It is your entire ecosystem, which I know for those that are listening, that's probably going to make you sweat right now.
Yeah.
But to take the overwhelm out of that is why you want consistency. Because one, if you're consistent, you're going to be more confident in the things that you are sharing with whoever and wherever it is, whether it's in person or online. And that confidence is going to come across clear And that clarity then builds belief that the people that are seeing it don't doubt you, whether they're sharing you with a friend or booking you to be on their podcast or booking your services directly. However that relationship goes, they believe in you and the things that you are working for, doing all things.
All of things, yes. And you were talking about confidence, when we talk about like the soft skills and the personal professional development that ties into this, it's not just about messaging, it's about the confidence. How confident are you in your message? How confident are you in communication? Your self-awareness. We talked about this before, like self-awareness, it's rooted inside of you, like with the confidence and self-awareness, showing empathy towards your current clients and the people that come into your space. And it's just all intentional communication because these are core soft skills that are going to help you in the long run so that you're able to clearly, intentionally communicate with the people in your space.
So, self-awareness has been one that we've talked about a few times, and I think it's because we both in different unique ways have been leaning into it as we've pivoted the things that we do in our business. So like when I started mine, I was a virtual assistant because it's what I knew. I was somewhat good at it. But the more I did it, the like hated it. I didn't like being on my own inbox, let alone someone else's all day. And so that self-awareness and then leaning into the intentional communication of what do I like? Like I was able to step out of, my own perspective because essentially when I started this side hustle, I was just looking for almost the easy way out. So I started to really hone in on the things that I love and was passionate about and how it still served and supported the wedding industry that I didn't really want to leave. It wasn't in my season of life that I can be in right now. So as I was building, I had to step out of my own perspective and really lean into and ask, what does this copy, what does this email, what does this social media post, what does this pin title sound like to someone who's never met me? So they're reading it for the first time. What is it saying? And I would often take my ideas to networking groups and I would just say it out loud as part of my elevator pitch. And depending on the faces I saw or the questions that I got, I was asked throughout the meeting, let me know if I was on the right track of, okay, we're on the same track, we're on the same page, we're vibing, let's use it. And that is leadership at the business level. It was slightly embarrassing because sometimes it was a hit and sometimes it was not. But I had to get very intentional with how I was sharing my messaging because I love a good template, but I didn't want the same email to go out to 50 people and hope that one of them read it. I wanted to be able to hook them, each individual person, immediately and set me up with a calendar of intentional strategic networking calls. So I was looking for referral partners or intentional market research. Hey, this is what I'm leaning into. You as a podcaster, what do you do with your podcast once it goes live? Are you only posting on Instagram? Are you doing this? Are you doing that? How are you bringing more people in after you post it?
I'm remembering when I used to go to networking groups. One networking group I went to, it was a hit or miss. You never know the people that you're going to interact with. And that's just like online. Like, you never know. You're going to post something, you're going to say something, someone's going to agree, someone's going to disagree. A lot of the things that I stand for, a lot of people disagree. They don't see the point, but I'm going to still talk about it because I know there's somebody out there that is going to align with my message. So that's another thing too to realize is that if you're passionate about it and there's people out there, like just keep doing it. Cause yes, it does suck when someone people are mean online. They want to say what they gotta say. Like, of course I have opinions on stuff too, but if I see something, I'm just like, I'm not gonna even say anything. Like, I'm not gonna waste my energy on that. If someone had to explain your business to a friend in one sentence, could they? And if not, what assumptions might you be making that are getting in the way?
I think that's a perfect thing to reflect on this week as you are maybe in the season. It's the beginning of the year. We're still in Q1. Maybe you're thinking about rebranding or honing in on your messaging, or you added a new service and you want to make sure it lands and is successful this year. These are really great questions for you to lean in and reflect on as you're working through the process of sharing your message and your content with everyone. The hope is your message doesn't need to be louder, it just needs to be clearer. Clarity is going to create that momentum that you need to get to the next level in your business, to have that new course or service or product launch successfully for the long term. And then that momentum is what's going to move your business forward past this year. So thanks again, you guys, for being with us. This was lovely. And whether you're growing your visibility through Pinterest marketing or streamlining your podcast operations and team management, we are here to help you build systems that work for you and not against you.
And as always, all of our information is in our show notes. Until next time, you can now follow us on LinkedIn at Entrepreneur Encounter.
Thanks for spending time with us today. If something in this episode gave you a fresh perspective, share it with a friend or send us a DM. We love hearing how these conversations land with you.
And if you're curious about how soft skills can support your next season of growth, we each have more resources to share.
You can find Dana on Instagram at danas.desk.nc for Pinterest strategy and intentional marketing.
And Sarah at URembert for team development, business leadership, and podcast support.
Until next time, keep leading with purpose
and growing with intention.